I died when I was a teenager of cancer, and I witnessed all that, and so I became a very angry young man. My mother couldn't supervise me because she was so distraught, and so I just fell into the world that I was already tiptoeing anyway, and things just continued to get worse and worse and worse. Horrible motorcycle accidents, prison time, you know what I mean, bad relationships, just toxic behavior, and I had plenty of excuses, plenty of ways to justify, you know, my use. So I had a horrible motorcycle accident and was recouping for years. So, you know, it was acceptable to my family and to the people around me that I was on pain maintenance drugs. And then all of a sudden the doctors cut it off because there's an issue, but they don't offer any aftercare or anything like that. So I turned to the streets, and it got to be street pills, Oxycontins, and you know, and eventually fentanyl, and I didn't like to be down all the time, so there was up drugs to keep me going, you know, and it was just a constant roller coaster. You know, and I pushed everybody that ever cared about me away. I couldn't have a healthy relationship. I was angry and I was dangerous. There ended up being quite a bit of prison time behind that. For years, I could juggle the coke and the crack and the pills and, you know, still work and still manage to do the things I needed to do to maintain my addiction in a residence. But eventually it got to a point where I started having to choose between rent and drugs, and of course drugs won. And then I started having to choose between food and drugs won. And I ended up homeless, about 105 pounds walking into a detox. After a detox, I got into a place similar to this. I went in there with my guard up and wondering, you know, okay, you know, what's the catch? And, you know, I became part of this community. I guess I was as happy as somebody could be, still living in denial. I wasn't using, so I was working a program and I was involved. I gained 20 pounds, had $100 in the bank and thought I had arrived. So I got involved with a woman, and, you know, she was recovering great on the outside also. She was a clinical research analyst for the government, so she went away on a business trip and she never made it back. She died DUI. That was all the excuse I needed. I went and copped a bunch of dope, you know, and I ended up flatlined, overdosed. I woke up in the hospital, and, you know, it's funny, that didn't stop me. I left the hospital and I did it again and again, all in the same week. The thought crossed my mind that I could not face my creator and saying, yeah, this is what I did with my life. This is what I did with all the talent and skills and everything that you gave me. Just in that brief moment, I could not bear the thought of that. So I made a phone call and I went to treatment. Never been through a real treatment center. Detoxes, yes, but not a treatment center. And the people were very kind. And that's when it started. I haven't used since. Something had changed. And I realized that I didn't belong out there. I was still very lost and afraid. So I did what my sponsor told me to do. He's like, just keep coming back. He said, pick up those books. And I started doing that. I started working steps. I started getting involved with service. So I started working in treatment, you know, in a detox center. And I never really knew what was in my heart till I started sharing it with a sponsee, bringing them through the steps. So my purpose is like to help other people like me. I wanted to be the guy that when, you know, a guy's sitting on the edge of his bed and he doesn't know what to do and he doesn't know how to manage his feelings and it doesn't seem like there's any way out except to go use again. I want to be the guy that sits down next to him and says, hey, you know, this is what